Welcome to In the Garden. Today we're at the home of Audrey Holitz, and she's going to talk to us about her potager garden and her cut flower garden.
Hello, welcome to Noble Farms, also the home of Heirloom Blooms, which is our cutting garden slash flower farm behind the barn. What you're entering into is a potager, which is a French term for a kitchen garden. What this design does is it kind of makes order out of chaos. So with a kitchen garden, you combine your fruits, vegetables, herbs, perennials, annuals, and it can get really, really chaotic. So what the brilliant French did is they made order out of it by making geometric beds. And so it's usually designed on an axis. So it designs a purposefully beautiful garden. We have geometric beds with gravel paths, and then you can kind of see the chaos within each bed. So ordered chaos.
I love it. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the plants in here?
Sure. The fun thing, the really, really, really fun thing about this garden is that most of these were free. So a lot of them I had brought from my previous garden at Heirloom's Tea Room, and then I just put an APB out on Hutchinson Area Garden Enthusiast Facebook page, and people just donated and donated. Oh, I've got this, I've got that, would you like that? And so I filled it in the first year, and within the first year it was just wonderful. So that's the magical thing. I did buy Lady's Mantle because I absolutely love it. For a filler, it's great, and it's very decorative and frilly, and you can see how beautiful when water beads sit on it, it looks like pearls. And I absolutely love Artemisia Silvermound because it's very, very soft, and it creates a beautiful color. This is Prairie Smoke. Absolutely love that. Got that from a dear gardening friend. And we have purple coneflower, native yellow coneflower, or gray head coneflower. And in the center of each bed, I did try and create some symmetry within each bed, so there is order.
So you've got some here and some here.
We've got, so there, it's in the center of each bed is the Japanese iris.
Okay.
And I love the vertical height and the spike right in the middle, and that creates repetition, which draws your eye around the garden. And then also in the center, I have a radius of Stella d'Oro daylilies that my mom gave me at least 20, maybe 25 years ago. And this is their third home, and they absolutely love it here. The soil here is fantastic. This is called Purple Opopio Amaranth, and it's got this fantastic dramatic spike and a fun kind of forest green leaf. It self-sows so prolifically though, so I have to cut it before it goes to seed because it filled in this entire bed the first year.
It's one of those trial and error things.
Oh my goodness, yes, I was shocked come spring. And then the center here I change around every year. I do have bulbs underneath there, but it's very hot, very dry, because it's pretty shallow soil right there in that bed. It's actually an octagonal bed. So we have things that love hot, and that is our moss roses. There is some sage in there, it just has not cooperated with growing vertically yet. And some pink petunias. This is a geranium. This is one of the first blooming things, and I pretty much have to yank all the foliage out and the flower spikes and then let it start over. Otherwise, it's so leggy and it dies and it's really ugly. So this is its second flush of foliage, which is really nice. I have Montana, the bachelor button. It's kind of fun. It's a kind of an alien looking flower, I think. And that also self-sows prolifically.
But if you cut it down after the first flush, it will rebloom.
Yeah, that's what it's doing. This is also on its second.
Not as heavy, but you'll get rebloom, so you'll get some color again later.
That's wonderful. So that's what it's doing right now. And then over here, we come into more of the English cottage style. So I melded them with, this is the rectangular geometric, and then here, because we have a curved path, I had to come up with something else. And I really, really, really wanted hydrangeas for cutting. And so I have Pinky Winky over here and vanilla or strawberry vanilla sundae over there. And so eventually these will grow up to about 6 feet tall, and that will create this little semi-enclosed garden over here, but you can see the potager beyond. And there's a nice little spot for having coffee when it's not so hot and just chatting with a friend.
And I see you have your handy little snips
And I have my snips ready for when we go behind the barn.
And are these forget-me-nots over here?
Those
the blue?
are, yep, yeah, they're the Chinese forget-me-nots, and those were new this year. They were planted from seeds that were from a celebration of life for a dear friend of mine who passed away. And so I've used the seeds to
Nice.
Forget-me-not, and when people leave my home, I want them to forget-me-not. And so it's a perfect place. And then I found out the florists absolutely love them because they're such a great blue.
Yes.
And a true blue is really hard to find. You can see that blue
Veronica.
there,
It's,
but it's purple.
yeah, most things in the plant world that they say are blue are purple.
That's purple to me. And then you can see the contrast with the actual blue. So this raised bed, it was initially a nursery bed for all of the plants that I brought from our previous home. And it was like a holding bed until we could build this. But the ultimate purpose for it was for food. And so we had over 7 tons of dirt hauled in. Dirt meaning topsoil and compost, 50-50 mix, which is a fantastic soil to grow anything in. And everything that was in here at least doubled, if not more. And so it's a wonderful bed for growing food. This became veggies, fruits, herbs, and vegetables. And so we've got the strawberries that are now starting to tumble over the edge to make it pretty for the fall. And those I will be thinning out very soon. But it's kind of fun to have those along the edges because then my boys can pick them, and also my dog comes and helps himself with the strawberries. And I've got beautiful green beans here. These are a French bush. And then I have sorrel because it's such a lovely, kind of a sweet and tangy thing to add to salads. The surprise lilies bloomed this week and they smell amazing. Over here is my 3rd succession of pennycress, and that is a wonderful thing for florists. It's a fantastic filler. This is seeded from my 1st succession, and I just let all the seeds dry. This is very, very happy rhubarb. We still have plenty to harvest, even here in the middle of August. In the back, I've got baptisia, and the things that are planted back there, I have perennials back there. The baptisia is poison, so it's way back there where nobody can get to it but me. And it's just really hard to reach as far as harvesting food, so that I just have as a pretty background to everything. And then over here, I have the herbs, because they love hot. And so I've got borage over there, which is a pretty herb that tastes like cucumbers. And then I've got 2 different kinds of basil. The purple one is purple opal. And this is pesto basil, and my daughter-in-law likes to make pesto, so I grow it and then I'll give it to her and she'll make it into something wonderful. And then in the front here, so that the boys can get them, I have the 3rd succession of radishes and carrots, and then a 2nd succession, and a 3rd I just planted this week because they can go into fall. They actually really like the cool, and so they will be harvested late fall, and that'll be kind of fun. And these we just have the boys pick and wipe off in the grass and eat right from the garden, dirt and all. But I did have to tell them that they're not growing in dirt, and the carrots are not covered in dirt. Dirt is in the driveway. This is soil, and soil is the food to grow things, and so it's not icky. So if there's a little soil on there, it's really okay. Then I've got a couple of tomatoes. The big beefsteaks are there, finally coming into their own, and these are the cherry tomato, and they are so sweet and so good, and it's just fun to have them on the end and be able to pick them. This 3-foot border, 3 foot by 30 foot, holds over 300 tulips underneath the mulch here. And those tulips come up early, mid, and late spring, and florists love them because we're so starved for color and beauty in spring that everyone loves tulips. And so once those are all harvested, I let the leaves stay on them to feed the bulbs underneath. And then when those are gone, I can overplant with my vining crops. And so here we've got zucchini, enough to feed a nation in 4 plants. And a lot of those get given away too. But gosh, they're just great for so many things. And they're so easy to grow, and they're just a pleasure. And I have to look every day to see if there's something out here growing. Yep, here's one. There's one. They grow so quickly. They can grow from that, and then I could come out here tomorrow and it would be a bat. And I recently learned that they actually like to grow vertically. They are a vine. And if you put them on a vertical support, or like a tomato cage, a really sturdy one, they start producing from the bottom, and then as the vine grows, you just continue tying it up, and then you can see that you have zucchini in there. So they kind of hang from the vine rather than laying there on the soil and rotting. So that's been a new thing for me this year, and it's wonderful. On either side of those, I have cucumbers planted. The English cucumbers over there are for me, and this is a lemon cucumber, which is a round yellow cucumber. It looks like a lemon, but it tastes like a cucumber. The skin is really thin, and so you just wash it off and you don't have to peel it. And these are for Munson, our dog, and they're right by the back door where he comes out because he can pick them himself. This is seeds that my oldest grandson Luke got at the county fair last year, and they are a beefsteak tomato, and I put them in the ground, and here we go. And so this is Luke's tomato plant. This is what we call our log garden. The fence was here, and let's see, it's a 40-foot section of fence, and we had this very large pine tree that fell down in the woods and was leaning into another tree. And I looked at it and thought, that looks about the same length as that fence. And asked my husband, what do you think about making a log garden? And he really loves the purple Russian sage. And so I said, we'll put sage in there, and we'll put this grayhead coneflower in there. And so he was in. So we planted these. All of the sage were just little tiny, oh gosh, 2-3 inch plugs from a nursery. And this is how much they've grown in 1 year. So this is their second season, planted them last spring. And already they're just humongous. The same, these grayhead coneflower, they were just little transplants, little volunteers actually. And then the yarrow, Colorado Sunset yarrow blend, I had growing in the cutting field over there and realized it was a perennial, and I wanted that to be all annuals. So I moved it out here because it likes hot, dry soil, and it grew abundantly. And so within a year, this whole bed is already full, and we're gonna have to move the log out. My romantic husband, Tim, likes to carve our initials, so A.T., which looks like at, is Audrey and Tim. And he's got that carved in several places around the farm. Okay, this is the other side of the raised bed, and it's kind of ugly and it's gotten weedy because we have a plan for our next garden. And this is going to be an alpine rock garden. So I thought it would be pretty to have all the creeping plants like dianthus, the pinks in spring, and that are in pinks and purples and blue and white, and sedums and things that just climbed and grew between dry rocks. And so the plan is to kill all of this and move all of these rocks and boulders in from the woods and form a beautiful rock garden, because it's always hot and dry here on this south exposure. But I think it'll be a really great introduction to the potager. Welcome to Heirloom Blooms Flower Farm. This is it. People have very large scale flower farms with acres and acres of flowers, and some of them have micro flower farms. I call this my nano flower farm because it consists of all the perennials that you saw in the potager, as well as the annuals, which are out here and to the other side of the barn. And this is 16 feet by 30, and you can fit an awful lot of stuff in here, especially if you succession plant, which means planting in waves so that you always have something to cut. Some flowers are what they call cut and come again, which means the more you cut, the more they grow. Like zinnias and basil are like that, and snapdragons, and the amaranth, which is the purple on the end. Those things, the more you cut, the more they come again. And then there are some medium producers out here like Nigella and bachelor buttons, that kind of thing. And you cut them, but they do continue to grow, but they aren't going to come back again. And then there's the once and done plants, which are like sunflowers, celosia, and I don't think I grow very many once and dones actually, because then they're done and they take up a lot of precious space. But the one that I do a lot of is Covent Garden Gypsophilia, which is a baby's breath, an annual baby's breath. And that one I've done 3 or 4 successions of, because you cut that and it's done. And so I drop the seeds from that and it makes the next succession. In a flower arrangement, you want to think of your thriller, your filler, and your spiller. So your thriller is like your focal flower, the big ta-da flower. So that, of course, is going to be bigger. And if you want to have 3 of that, that really makes it evident that that is the thriller flower, the focal. And then the fillers are your basil and amaranth, and you can even pick your cosmos greenery is gorgeous in there. Now I'm thinking of putting these in a mason jar, which is all the rage. So we don't need them to be super tall. I can just start putting them together in my hand and see how it's looking. We're going to give it a fresh snip before we put it in the water. And this is a big flower, so we actually want this closer to the bottom because it has heavy visual weight. So put that big thriller down there. And just kind of look at the height of your vase and about where you want things to land. And a little bit off of that one. There we go. And then we'll put our greens in there. Now they obviously are way too tall, but at least we have it to work with. So
yes, you always want to cut longer than what you think you'll need.
Now we really only need about that much to start with. So we'll arrange that around and between. So you don't want your flowers to just be squished together. You want them to just have fun, be loose. Okay, we're going to get some more greens in there. Oh, so good. And this I'm going to cut a little shorter so it can fill in some of the blanks here. And I have no idea if this is going to turn out and be wonderful or not. So we'll just do this together. And a little shorter. Strip a little more. There we go. Yeah, see how that creates some movement? Got it kind of going that way and up. And then we'll get these wonderful things. This is our amaranth. And that is a spiller right there. Did I lose an amaranth? I might have. Well, lucky for me, I have plenty. We'll put that as our central spike. And then we'll grab one more over here. And how big do we want that one? A little shorter. Because I want that to create movement over here. That's still too long. So you can just play with it until it's what you want. Until it feels right to you.
Ideally, we probably wouldn't be cutting them at 11, 11:30. You'd be out early in the morning.
Oh, thanks, Joyce. That's a great point. Yeah, you really do not want to cut right now and arrange in the sun. Ideally, you'd be out here first thing or last thing. When first thing is really great because they've had a rest overnight and they've had a chance to absorb the moisture without the stress of the sun on them. And in the evening, if you have to cut them then, be sure they're watered really, really well before you cut them, which I did do last night. And that will have given them a chance to drink up the water all day. And the yarrow really hates being cut at this time of day, so it's already looking sad, but it will perk up once I take it in the house in the shade, and even pop this in the fridge for a little bit. Okay, let those a little shorter.
Yeah, some flowers, when I cut them, I'll put them in the refrigerator for a few hours in warm water to harden them off and to, let them drink up lots of that water in a cool environment.
And then are they happy?
Usually, some plants, there are some coleus do not like to go in the refrigerator. So if you're hardening them off, maybe put them in your basement or something. If you're doing them like for a fair or a show, or where it's cooler but not cold. Coleus hate cold.
Coleus hate cold. You know what? Basil does not like to be refrigerated either. I tried that to revive it, and
yeah,
it was really, really, really sad. And then last, we'll put in our fun movement. We'll stick that right in the middle, and then we can kind of pull the pods where we want them to be. You don't have to just stick things in and leave them there. You can move them around so that you get the repetition of that same bloom. Well, not bad. What do you think?
looks great.
It'll look happier once I bring it inside.
Thanks for having us out here.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming. I hope you've gotten some encouragement to grow beauty and share it.